Hello and welcome to Every Persona Explained, where we take a look at the origin and representation of every persona. I'm your host Winwright, and today we're taking a look at Attis. Attis is a Phrygian and later Greek nature god and consort of Cybele. Phrygia is here, by the way, and he is a character. The story of his birth is certainly one of the most something stories in those traditions. One day was born a deity called Attis, and they were a hermaphrodite. Well, the other gods didn't like that and castrated Attis, a very measured response, and buried their male parts, from which grew an almond tree. There's definitely a nuts joke in there somewhere. In one source, Attis then becomes Cybele, which makes the rest of Attis' story even worse. After the tree grew, Nana, daughter of the river god Sigarios, took one of the fruits from the tree and, well, it says laid it in her bosom when at once it disappeared, so she absorbed it? Anyways, this made her pregnant somehow, and when the baby was born, that's Attis. Attis grew up to be, unfortunately for him, very pretty and attracted the attention of Cybele, who fell in love with him. See, I told you it got worse. When Cybele showed up to try and woo Attis, at his own wedding, no less, he went mad and castrated himself under a pine tree so hard that he died. Also, his would-be father-in-law castrated himself for some reason. I don't think he died from it, though. Cybele was so sad about this that she begged the sky god, whom the Greeks equated with Zeus, to, quote, grant that the body of Attis should neither rot at all nor decay, end quote. And it's not clear what happens after that, but Attis is known as Cybele's consort, so I guess she resurrected him and they started dating. Yikes. This story is unhinged, and I feel we're missing context to it that Pausanias, our source, is missing. There is another version of the story from Ovid's Fasti, which skips out the birth of Attis and jumps straight to the still pretty boy catching Cybele's eye. He promises to serve at her temple and to stay celibate. He then ends up meeting a cute nymph girl who seduces him and makes him break his vow. This sends Cybele into a rage, and she kills the nymph. And after this, Attis goes mad and castrates himself. Ovid doesn't say he dies though, so there's that. That begs the question. What the fuck? What is the purpose of this story? Well, it explains why priests of Cybele were eunuchs. Also, Attis' earlier story of his death and I guess rebirth represent the cycle of the seasons, with much of nature dying in the winter and being reborn in the spring. Also, I looked, and from what I could find, Cybele is not related to the word celibate. And that's Attis, the Phrygian nature god and grandson/lover of Cybele. We're going to quickly move past that and ask how he is represented in game. Yo, why is he a mummy? I went looking for Phrygian burial practices and couldn't find much. I did find that King Midas, yes that one, may have been based on a Phrygian king named Midas. His tomb, named Tumulus MM, had remains that were dressed in a bronze-studded leather outfit. This is not what's represented here. The wrappings and disconnected limbs are, as far as I can find, not representative of any myth or tradition. The dagger he's holding may be a reference to him castrating himself, which is good, I think, but that's kind of it. Attis is in the Hanged Man Arcana, which can mean sacrifice, and you might be able to spin his castration as a sacrifice to Cybele in Ovid's version of the story. Oddly enough, Attis is the ultimate persona of the Hanged Man Arcana in 3, 4, and 5. His moves aren't great either. There's only a handful of moves that I can link to his story and character. In all versions of 3, he gets an almighty move, reflecting him being a deity, and in 3, 4, and 5, he gets Enduring Soul, which will save you from dying and heal you. This you can link to his aspect of being a god of death and rebirth. And that's kinda it. He does have a unique trait in Vitality of the Tree, allowing you to use skills that are normally only available when you're surrounded, when you're not surrounded. This is really good. It links to his nature aspects, his death and rebirth aspects, his messed up birth, him castrating himself under a tree. Why are all of his connections in the trait? In FES and 5, he gives the skill card for Enduring Soul. Royal changes that out for skill cards for Null Curse or Drain Curse. The Enduring Soul card makes sense, the only one that does. The other two, not so much. Overall, this isn't great. His trait is fantastic, but nothing else seems to fit. Of course, knowing my luck, it's from a very specific source that I managed to completely miss that makes everything match perfectly. Well, this was certainly something. I simply cannot find the inspiration for his design in these games. So I can only assume that either there's a specific one that I missed, or like Kerberos, it makes sense in context of one of the older SMT games. But if that's the case, I did not find it. Anyways, thank you very much for watching. Let me know who you want to see next time in the comments down below. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time on Every Persona Explained.